You guys happen to catch the new Dave Chappelle Netflix series? I did. I watched it earlier this week. I thought it was fantastic. But Vice didn't think so. Vice wrote, and I'll paraphrase, you can definitely skip the new Dave Chappelle Netflix special. And then I think that was their headline, and their description was, Dave Chappelle doubles down on misogyny, transphobia, and punching down. Which, it's curious to me how different of an art form we treat comedy than we do other traditional arts. I can't recall standing there in Madrid looking at a Goya. Man, I wish Goya would stop punching down. It doesn't happen. Or Hans Holbein. There he is, painting the white patriarchy again. Typical. No, we don't do it. Same with music. You know, when it's misogynistic, what do we call it? Well, it's gangster rap. What sounds nationalistic? It's hardcore. It's punk. It's crust punk. It's some underground scene. Don't worry about it. Yeah, they swear a lot. They say anti-PC stuff. It's music. That's what it is. But comedy, the comedian punches down, or is transphobic, or is racist. That's curious to me. Now, it's not curious to me that Vice wrote an article with the headline, you can definitely skip Dave Chappelle's Netflix special. That's not curious to me. I think about systems a lot. Like, what is the system, the organism of the company, the emergent behavior that incentivizes an individual to write a headline like that? Because we break it down into binary options, right? Well, you watch a Dave Chappelle Netflix special, and then you can have two reactions, let's say. One reaction, you like it, you're positive, you're going to write a glowing review about it. Or you're going to write a negative review about it. You have a negative reaction. Now you might say, Alec, well, what happens if you just didn't feel anything about it? Well, I'd say, that's fair. Most of us feel meh about most of the art we consume. But when you're paid to have an opinion on some piece of art, that doesn't sell any pages, any videos, any clicks. You gotta have some sort of strong opinion one way or another. So we gotta operate within a binary system of strong positive, strong negative reaction. Given that the system itself is incentivizing a binary opinion on Dave Chappelle's special, why did Vice choose the negative one? Well, there's a couple reasons I would speculate. Don't scream at me, this is conjecture, but conjecture based on my studying of how media companies operate and the systems that control them. And in Vice's case, you've had a demographic switch. And that demographic switch is, I think, key to understanding why Vice, that once was started by Gavin McInnes and Shane Smith, and they're on a train down Siberia to North Korea, drinking and smoking with some Russians, why they're now writing relatively staid, clickbaity, PC correct things on Dave Chappelle. Well, it's because their demographic, a large part of their demographic, probably agrees with that statement that Dave Chappelle's punching down, that he's making transphobic jokes, making misogynistic jokes. So, okay, if they go with the headline that's negative Dave Chappelle, they can appease that demographic that agrees with that thesis. But doesn't mean they're going to alienate all the people like myself, maybe, that think that stand-up special is fantastic, that think Dave Chappelle might be the best comic there is, one of the best public figures currently we have in American culture? Well, yeah, but they'll alienate it, but that won't stop us from reading it, from talking about it like I'm doing right now, from sharing how outrageous the headline is on Twitter. And that's, once again, the goal of any sort of news or cultural criticism, is to generate enough emotional punch to bifurcate the audience. Either appeal to their inner flattery and get them to click and agree with you, or to outrage them enough that they share or engage with the article regardless. And by taking the stance that Dave Chappelle's special is worth skipping, they can have both cakes. If you're thinking about it in terms of how do we maximize eyeballs, clicks, engagement, well then the incentive is to have a stance against Dave Chappelle's special. That will get, in aggregate, in total, the most amount of traffic. Total amount of website traffic is to take the stance against Dave Chappelle. Because if I take a stance pro Dave Chappelle, the majority of people writ large in the United States might agree with us, but they're not going to really say anything. They're not going to share it. They'll just be like, oh yeah, Vice agrees with us. And then they'll have a small vocal minority that wants to burn down Vice. So in terms of total clicks, it's more advantageous, both in terms of monetary incentive and cultural currency, to take the anti-Dave Chappelle stance. Now, you might be thinking, well, you're over analyzing Vice. This is just one woman writer who has a subjective opinion on the arts. Maybe she's politically biased against Dave Chappelle. Maybe she's a bleeding heart liberal. Okay, yeah, and if you look back through the other articles she's written on entertainment, I'm an arts culture critic, she takes the same textual stance, the same cultural theory criticism on most of the things she reviews. So if you were to base it just linearly on the things she's reviewed in the past and her approach on it, with the modern hyper-PC slant, yeah, it's not a surprise that this writer would be against Dave Chappelle. But the editor didn't have to assign that write-up to that writer. Why did Vice's entertainment desk assign the review of Dave Chappelle's special to this specific writer? Because they knew on some level, intuitively, that's the frame they would take. That's the headline they would take. They would take the frame, the headline, the idea Dave Chappelle's Netflix special is worth skipping. He continues to talk transphobic, misogynistic, and punch down. The system incentivizes that stance. The media system, ecosystem in which the Vice writer is employed in, incentivizes having that opinion on Dave Chappelle's stand-up special. It starts to become intuitive. There was a story at work the other day about this old cave in France that produces, hundreds of thousands of pounds of cheese, right? So what is it? Where am I going with this cheese story? The point of this is, how do you sell this story? Well, you start to think about clever ways to incentivize people to click. You want to maximize clicks. So at work, when we got a cave that makes cheese, this is boring. So you rearrange the headline a little bit. You write, "You won't believe what's inside this cave," playing on a psychological term called the curiosity gap. Or, "Every cheese lover must go to this place." And then you don't tell them it's this cave in France. It's manipulating the headlines because the system, the media system, incentivizes maximizing clicks at all costs. And if you're maximizing clicks at all costs, sometimes that system will incentivize a stance regardless if the company agrees or not, actually cares or not. So to me, a lot about understanding why certain journalists write the way they do, or why certain media outlets publish the headlines they do, is because the system modulates the individual employee's behavior, specifically when it comes to writers and journalists. Just food for thought. That's my response to the Dave Chappelle special. I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed it a great deal. Not shocked that Vice wrote it. I'm sure Vice cashed in on the banner ads that ran beside that article. In terms of just aggregate engagement, I'm sure it was the right move. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, like, subscribe. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.